My name is Nadim. I'm really happy to be here today and would like to discuss with you a few things why I think and we think AI is a slightly different topic than just implementing it. So before we kick it off, I would like to activate you a little bit. So please stand up, everyone. Everyone is standing up. Exactly. So I have a few questions for you. Please, first of all, keep standing if your company is doing something with AI at the moment. Okay, good. So everyone keep standing. Keep standing if your company has successfully implemented the very first AI solution. So successfully implemented, not just doing something with it. So according to McKinsey, it should 72% of the audience should remain standing. Okay. Please keep standing if you have fully adopted AI in your organization. So you were thinking about keeping standing, yeah, right? But then you saw the rest of the audience that done so, maybe not fully adopted. Yeah, so exactly, I was expecting that, and I was double checking what McKinsey is doing. So they say 70% of their global research survey they've done in May this year have implemented, so everyone is doing something with AI, 72% have implemented the very first solution successfully, but when it comes to adoption and when it comes to really leveraging the benefits of AI and creating added value out of this, this is where the problems come up. So I would like to give you a quick insight how you can manage the success of AI, how you can generate impact from data and AI, and with this I think we can all agree data and AI have a great potential, and everyone in the room, if I would ask you to raise your hand, you would agree. So it is the biggest driver for profitability in the future. This is at least what everyone is stating at the moment. And I can tell you there's not one single major enterprise out there which is not looking for an AI strategy at the moment. So I'm just coming from Big Data London. It's one of the biggest data conferences in Europe. And there were tons of data leaders and chief data officers and so on and so forth. And everyone was talking about the AI strategy currently, what they're focusing on, how they can create added value from data. And there are two major topics in the audience at the moment there. Number one is, I don't know who has ever heard about topic data products? 1, 2, 2.5, 3, 4.5. Okay, so this is one major theme, how you can create products out of data, and the second major stream is how can we generate measurable impact. So not just implementing it technology-wise, but how can we create measurable impact. And I think this is also an interesting number I can share with you. Last year, globally, 150 billion have already been invested into AI. So it is quite a number, I would say. And 80% of this number has been stated as failed investments. So also here we can see everyone is talking about it, everyone is doing something about it, but if we want to come to create added value from it, then the question is how do we do that? And Mindfuel is the startup I founded. We've launched, we went to the US this year, so we've launched our product in the US. So I was talking to a lot of people in Silicon Valley and so on and so forth, and everyone there says the reason is a technical problem. We need another XYZ technology, we have to improve our technologies, but I would state, what if it's not a technical problem? So let's assume for a second it's not because we need another lake house or data lake or cloud data warehouse or whatever, but what if it is an operational problem? A business problem. And here comes a little spoiler alert. It's not the matter of how you build AI and data products. It doesn't matter. You have to ask yourself, why are you building it? So if you cannot answer the why, this is the first indicator for it could be that we have a problem. So we believe there is a gap between the business functions of organizations, so the people in the core businesses, and the people who are responsible for data and AI, typically stated as data teams. So maybe a quick question, who in the audience has a data team in their organization, in their company? Data team, AI team, BI team, something who's working on data, okay, good. So the collaboration between this team who's responsible for creating analytical solutions and the business, there's usually a gap. And what is this gap about? Number one, there's typically untapped and misunderstood business potential. The data team is really struggling in understanding what the business truly needs. Point number one. Second, there's a misalignment between which capabilities the organization have from a technical perspective and what business requirements we have. So the other way around, the business has no clue what we actually can do in data and AI. And third point, there's a lack of efficient metrics to communicate the impact. So how would you assess and define the impact from data, what data is generating for your organization? Why is this so tricky, and why is this generating something we call, something we call invisible data impact? Data teams usually are support functions in most of the organizations. If you're not Spotify, or if you're not directly now a company really leveraging data in your core business, then data teams are typically support functions. They work like HR, legal, whatever support function to support the core business driving the value chain or the value creation. To assess the success of these teams, they can just be as good as the value they generate in the core business. So the value they are supporting at in the core business is their success metric they should look at. The question is, for support functions in general, you could ask and you can challenge, okay, what is their value contribution for HR? How do you assess the value contribution of HR in your core business? Same question. The difference is data needs a lot of budget. So when you're asking somebody, what is this line item? If you ask a CMO, how much is the line item here for data? And you look at some budgeting sheets this year, you see the investments for AI, just as we've seen, is 10x higher than for any other support function. So this is the reason why we have to discuss how we're going to do this. And it is on your company's AI and data leaders. So the leaders of these departments are in charge to change this and to create visible impact. And they are now challenged at the moment. So I can tell you once again, coming from the UK at the moment, everyone there really builds up their AI strategy at the moment to justify their impact on the core business. Because we are cutting costs, we're cutting budgets. No, like a couple of years ago, everyone was just raising their hands, they got more money. Nowadays, everyone has to explain, what are you doing with the money? First year, you have a free shot, but in second year, directly, okay, you got X, Y, Z in budget, what is the return? So they cannot do it alone. As I stated, they need their business partners to succeed. It needs to be a collaboration between business and data. And there are business opportunities. It's now based on the McKinsey studies I was stating earlier on. It has been researched that there are overall opportunities in the core business which help us to create 20% in cost reductions overall, and they're even stating more than 10% in revenue increases. So I think these numbers are very reasonable. Of course, any other study tells you different things, but I found personally 20% in cost reduction overall in the entire organization is a reasonable number to hit for and makes sense for me, especially based on the maturity level where organizations are at the moment. So if we can really bring this down to the P&L, it would be a huge success. The question is, how can you unlock that? And how can you generate this value? I brought you 3 steps to do that. Based on the research from the last 5 years, we as Mindful working on. So our focus is on data impact management. So we're exactly addressing the gap between business and data teams or business and AI. And the 3 suggestions are the following. Business opportunities. Okay, I have to go one step back. Who knows the term use case? Okay, this is very good. This is helpful for my talk. So there is a difference between a use case and an opportunity. And I will explain in the next slide what the difference is. But the first step must be we have to create business opportunities. A business opportunity is defined as a transformed business problem. So it's part of the problem space, but instead of that business is complaining what's not working, they should state an opportunity statement. Step number 2, you have to streamline your portfolio of existing solutions. Also here I will deep dive, I will explain what that means. But if your company is building up assets like data assets, dashboards, machine learning models, all of that stuff, there's something called portfolio management. So who knows about product management? Last question, I promise. Okay, good, thank you, so keep you awake. There's a capability in product management called portfolio management, and data teams don't do portfolio management today. But one of the key assets and key benefits for data teams would be to do that, and I will explain how they should do it. Number 3, adoption. Adoption is a big thing. Typically, a solution is launched, there's a big launch party, at least in the Fachbereich, in the business team, right? So they're celebrating their new dashboard. And then let's look at the usage after 2 weeks. How many people have come back and logged in into the dashboard instead of using the old Excel spreadsheet? Exactly. So usage has dropped significantly. So adoption is the 3rd thing we should have a look at. Let's start with the co-creation of business opportunities. I set the whole thing up, so I expected a slightly bigger screen, but no worries, I will explain it as good as I can. We have always 2 sides on the slide, the old world and the new world, okay? In the old world, or the world as it is today, maybe it's familiar to you. Business comes around to the data team and said, build me a dashboard. So, or can you build me? So if they're polite, of course, they say, can you build me a dashboard? Or I need this analysis, please. And in the old world, a data guy would sit down and say, no problem, I build it for you. So they go back into their room, they sit down for 3 weeks, they build a dashboard, they come back, they say, here's the dashboard. And they said, what dashboard? And the business says, what dashboard? And then they say, yeah, but you asked me 3 weeks ago to build your dashboard. I said, I don't want a dashboard. I wanted to have an analysis visualized in a dashboard, but this is not what I asked for. So reality, in the old world, they're just stating what they think they need. And then we don't have either an alignment, we have no business commitment, we have no discovery done, there's no problem solution fit. So with this approach, a lot of problems arise. Why is that? Because the use case, technically, everyone raised their hand for, they know what a use case is technically part of the solution space. So if somebody comes around and says, I want a use case, a churn prediction model. Churn prediction is one of a use case. If somebody says, I want a churn prediction model, then this is already the solution. The right question of a product manager, of an impact manager would be, what is your problem? So what is the problem? Why do you need a churn model? And this is how the new world should look like. The new world means that we as data people, when a business comes around and says, I need a dashboard, we start working with them, not on the dashboard, but on the true opportunity in the business. So we're helping them to break down the business problem. We have to move, we have to change, we have to be interested in what their true problem is, and we have to rethink our world of thinking, so to make sure that we are really like helping them and not just listening to them what they're saying, but actually already sleeping in the meeting. So for this, there's a methodology called business opportunity exploration, and it has different steps. There's a workflow behind that in research nowadays saying, okay, how can we clarify the opportunity? How can we quantify the opportunity? How can we prioritize the opportunity, putting a strategic value behind it, prioritizing it based on real business impact? So this means we are calculating, yes, something called a business case. Behind every business opportunity, there must be a business case. And the business has to explain to me the business case. They own the business case. If marketing comes around and says, hey, we have a problem with churning customers, we sit down and saying, okay, how much money can we save? 600,000 euros a year. Okay, then I'm interested in this business case. Let's discuss how this business opportunity can be quantified. What are the steering metrics? What is important? What is the baseline? So these are all business terms. I haven't talked about AI at all yet. AI is the second step, part of the solution space. So number one, business opportunities. It helps you if you co-create business opportunities. First of all, you have much more alignment. You have much more joint direction. You're having the commitment from the business, and the time to decision is heavily increased, and the management overhead is reduced. I can tell you, if you design business opportunities, I reduced number of meetings by 50%, because we're talking about a real business problem. Step number 1. Step number 2, streamline your product portfolio. In a major corporation, let's take, I'm recorded, right? Okay, then let's take a company who's providing infrastructure for our mobile phones. So something in the world of telco communication, and they have data teams all over the world, one in their headquarters, and then in every single region they have a data team. Spain, UK, Benelux. So every region has their own data team. And in the old world, each of these teams is building machine learning models. Let's stick with the example of churn. I think it fits perfectly in the telco world. So we want to predict churn. We want to predict who will leave and quit one of our contracts. What we've seen in the old world, these people, these teams never synchronized. So I've been with this customer. We analyzed the portfolio of churn models, and the exact same churn model has been exactly 3 times, nearly the same way in 3 different regions based on the exact same customer data, providing 3 times different results. So if you were aggregating these reports from the 3 countries, saying what is our churn rate in Europe, all the 3 had the exact same model on the same data with different results. Why? Because optimized differently, the models have been built differently, AI was applied differently, and this is due to the fact that they've never thought about managing their solutions in a portfolio way. Like, assume you would have a huge Excel spreadsheet where everyone would write down which model have I built, what was the business opportunity, what was the use case, which data was used, and so on and so forth. A kind of a portfolio approach to keep track of everything. This is how the new world nowadays looks like. Imagine your company or your organization would have a portfolio with all the overview of which business opportunities do exist in a company among all business teams, and what solutions have we already built. Why? Because the reusage of models increases the stability and increases the adoption. So let's assume we would only have one model, one churn model, used in all the 3 different markets, with all the business opportunities from the different markets. Every business opportunity has a value behind, let's say 1 million. So we aggregating the business value behind every opportunity and break it down to this one single model. We can invest more in the model. We can make sure that the model is really adopted. We can make sure that the portfolio value is increasing. So in a new world, you try to keep up with one centralized environment, having all the opportunities in place, all your assets, all your data assets, everything you're building, the so-called data products. So we come to this in the fireside chat in the next session, what a data product is. And then you can really start tracking value and the value generation of your portfolio. You can think a little bit like any other stock asset portfolio you have in your bank account, right? So you're seeing all the different assets, you're seeing which asset is growing, which is maybe decreasing, increasing, and this is due to the usage of the data set or the dashboard. And it's always linked to a financial impact thanks to the opportunity value. And this helps to justify where should we invest next. This helps to explain to a CFO, to a CEO, to senior executives where the money is and how we generate this value, how we unlocking these opportunities with the help of data. Last step, managing adoption actively for value generation. So in the old world, build me a dashboard, step 1. Step 2, data scientist sits down, builds the dashboard, or business analyst sits down, builds the dashboard. Step 3, after 6 or 12 weeks, he or she comes back and says, dashboard is ready, now let's launch it. So the dashboard is launched, everyone starts to celebrate. There's a new dashboard. We can get rid of the spreadsheet. Now we have everything we need to be more effective and collaborate better. Reality is, as I just said, the new dashboard is published. At the beginning, huge impact expectations, but nobody returns. Why is that? Why is nobody returning to that dashboard? We actually need that dashboard. We actually need that model. We actually need that process, whatever. Because adoption has to do with change. Change of working, change of thinking. We have to adapt the ways how we act. And this is part of something called lifecycle management. There's technical lifecycle management of the product. Yeah, we have to make sure that the product is continuously improved and so on and so forth. But there's also lifecycle management around the way of working. And this is something which we do now as data people in the future. If there's a data person in the room, follow me, we should do that. We have to make sure that we continuously not only helping people to use it, but explaining why you should use it, thanks to the value creation part of it. In major corporations, nobody wants to change. Please don't get me wrong. I don't want to be impolite at all. But if you don't give them a reason, a proper reason why they should do it, why they should change, then it will not happen. And the reason is you can save or gain money for the company, which helps you to be whatever you want to do in the future here in this organization. You can justify your contribution. So if this churn model really works out and we're making sure that it's used by the organization in AYC, in ABC markets, we can save 3.4 million euros. The argumentation of saving 3.4 million euros, which is justified with controlling, which is aligned with finance, and which is presented to the CIO, CEO, whoever is in charge for that topic, is a completely different conversation in comparison to the accuracy of my churn model increased from 82% to 84%. And this is what we used to do as data people. We used to explain how cool and good our models, our dashboards, and so on and so forth are. We've never justified our efforts through the money we're generating. And this is a mindset shift which is coming from product management. And this is the reason why it says here, applying product mindset to manage adoption. Product management has it all. It has all the capabilities, all the disciplines, all the best practices we need. It has just never been applied to AI. And this is what is changing at the moment in the market at the moment. Everyone is talking about product management and data and AI, and it's changing the way of working, not necessarily the technology. And this takes me back to the 80% from the beginning, from the 150 billion failed last year. If we want to reduce this failure rate from 80% to 70%, gaining 10% of 150 billion, it's kind of money, and it will work with the application of data product management. To sum it up, from the old world to the new world, we have to bridge the gap between these two business teams, I would say, or between these two teams or domains. And it is, everyone who works in IT knows that. It exists for centuries, as long as IT exists, that there are two silos. And business is talking about the IT, and IT is talking about the business. And this is where it cracks. This is where we have the gap, and we want to close that gap to be successful with AI. Because otherwise, it's just another technology. AI itself is not, so I'm really happy about the AI movement and so on and so forth. You can believe me, I'm over a decade in this world of data and AI. It's been time to release that stuff and to come one step further. But it will fail. It will fail again if we don't change now this mindset and this way of working. And I've seen it in more than 50 enterprises now in the last 5 years, where everyone wants to change, tries to change, and they start by which technology should we buy? Instead of how do we make sure that these 3 steps are considered. So I summarize it that the AI and data impact depends on the collaboration with the business. We are a support function. We can just justify our value through this collaboration, and closing this gap will ensure that the money and the time invested will pay off at scale. Only this. It doesn't matter which LLM you're using. I mean, it matters at a certain moment in time, but this is not the first question. Data impact management is the discipline we're working on for now nearly 5 years, and it helps you to overcome these barriers and to unlock the full potential of AI from my point of view. Thank you very much for having me and listening to me. Yeah, we have, of course. Yeah, we have time for questions. So we have 5 minutes. Yeah.
How does your suggested approach change the organization? Does it require a new new roles in general, a redefinition of the existing roles, or the structure and the size of the data and AI teams?
Yeah, so believe it or not, there's a new role on the horizon called Data Product Manager. So these are people who are exactly doing that now, taking this kind of activities, building the bridge, being the intermediator between business and data. They have different names in different organizations. One called them business translator, analytics supporter, data product manager, data product understander. I've heard a lot of different roles. At the end of the day, so it is not necessarily changing the way how we deliver. So the execution, the implementation part, there's still a PO, there's still the development team and so on and so forth. But in the past, it was expected from a product owner to take this job. And this is really a tricky point because the product owner is already busy by executing. So making sure that an execution team is really working at scale, like at full speed, at high impact, this is a true PO job. So doing the right things and doing the things right is a specific mantra in product management. And doing the things right, this is what the PO is responsible for. Building up the backlog and doing all that stuff is a full-time job. Expecting from that person also working with the stakeholders and the business people and building the business cases and making sure this is the bottleneck. So you typically slice at that point. You say, okay, dear Jack, you will be the product owner. We have Amanda now. Amanda is a product manager, and she will take care of the interface to the business. And then she works 80% with the business teams. The business is the customer. So you can apply the methodology from product management just to an internal organization. So next week, whoever's interested at Bubble here in Berlin, we have an event called What the Fuck Data. It's on Tuesday evening, right? Yeah, okay, on Tuesday evening in the Bubble office, and we will talk about exactly these mess-ups, where it failed when data product management and product managers are not there. Further questions, anyone? Did this make sense to you would be my question, but we can take this offline. Good, then thank you very much for having me.